The more money that you make, the more value that you create for more people. If you're not making enough money right now in your life, then that means that you're not providing enough value for enough people. Welcome to the Jandy Show, another episode coming from Kalma, my rich dad's boat. I had an amazing experience. It's been super fun playing with the kids. Frank Brandon was able to see the dolphins. He was swimming with the dolphins on an e-foil board. Very epic experience just watching him swim with the dolphins. We had a lot of good food and we still got some workouts on the beach. On today's episode, I wanted to share with you guys the top 10 lessons that I've been able to take from my rich dad, Mr. Frank Codina. He even gave me this hat, Time is Money, which I was very pleased and excited when he handed me the hat, and he's like, this hat's yours now. Something was being passed down, and I'm super blessed. I've been able to spend the last 4 days on the boat with them, spending a lot of time with them because they're gonna be traveling a lot soon, going to Europe, going to Miami, and I just wanted to maximize my time with them. And if you guys don't know, Frank and Marcella, they're both my clients. I've been working with them for about a year now. We've been training really hard. I met them at a time when their goal was to get into the best shape for their 25th anniversary for their marriage. And we got the job done successfully. And from there on, it's been a year since I've known them, and we've been building such a great relationship as a client to coach, and also more than just that. So let me jump right in. One of the first lessons that I wanted to share with you guys that I learned was making business your number one priority. My rich dad always told me that making business your number one priority is one of the most important things. I remember we were on the boat on the way to Icacos, an island, and I was sitting to his left and he was sitting on the steering wheel. And I was just asking him, I'm like, what drove you to this kind of success in business? And he said, I made business my number one priority, and I made a lot of sacrifices getting to where I'm at in life today. And when I heard that, it clicked with me. I need to make business my number one priority because there's sometimes things that get in the way where I misprioritize certain things. So number one, always making business my number one priority. Number two is chase success, not money. And this goes back to when Frank shot a testimonial for me, and he told me that I live by something called CANE, C-A-N-E, constant and never-ending improvement. And when I heard that, it clicked with me. I was like, whoa, that's something that I live by, but I've never heard it from that perspective. That's something that Frank, my rich dad, always was chasing. How can he be the best in all areas of life? How can he be constantly improving and having never-ending improvement? And he applied that to business, he applied that to life, he applied that to his relationships. And that's also what brought him a lot of success. So I really took that into consideration and heart, and that's something that I want to apply as well. Number three, the more money that you make, the more value that you create for more people. If you're not making enough money right now in your life, then that means that you're not providing enough value for enough people. When he built his 9-figure company, the problems that he was trying to solve was for a mass scale of people. The problem that he solved was for middle-class people wanting to have vacations with their family, wanting to have great trips where the whole trip was planned, and creating a subscription model for middle-class families to go on affordable cruise trips with their family and to be paying a recurring subscription that would bring them the value and the joy and the entertainment. Imagine creating an impact for millions of people all over this world. And he's also working with over 200 countries. That blew my mind. He's creating so much value for everybody in this world, different countries. And when I heard that, I was like, wow, I am not providing enough value for the people around me. I need to be pouring more into this world, creating more impact, and also being creative with my impact as well. Okay, number four is business success equals looking at business relationships as long-term relationships. I think a lot of people go wrong when they try making a quick buck from other people, when you're either scamming people or you're trying to gain leverage. What you're pretty much putting out in this world is you want this short-term relationship for a long-term gain, which in reality, that's not a long-term gain. And one of the lessons that I was learning from my rich dad was that he always looked at lives and the relationships that he poured into as long-term relationships. If you're in a long-term relationship, you're in a commitment, you're dedicated, you're essentially committed to being your best self for this relationship because you know that it's going to be long-term. And so when he viewed his business as long-term relationships in his business relations, that's also when he started seeing the success that he wanted to see. He didn't see things from a short-term gain or even just trying to make money fast. He looked at everything from a long-term perspective. And I believe that we live in a generation where it's hard to be patient these days. And sometimes we want it so fast. But it's important to understand that great things come in life when you patiently wait, when you look at the long-term vision of things. And that was another great lesson that I learned from him. The fifth lesson that I've learned is being a great father means that you need to love up on your kids so hard. What does that mean? Having unconditional love for your kids. Your kids are gonna make mistakes. And when they do make mistakes, what's the point of yelling at them, getting angry at them? In my view, that hasn't always been the right way to parent because sometimes I would get yelled at and I wouldn't even know why I was getting yelled at. It would cause a lot of issues and thoughts in my head. What did I do wrong? And my rich dad's way of parenting is withdrawing love. Instead of getting angry and getting mad, just withdrawing love back, letting your son or your daughter correct the mistake and then giving back love. And I thought that was very profound because as a father, you'd expect that you need to hold your certain ground of being an alpha, being this, being that. But in reality, it's not about that. It's just withdrawing a little bit of love and letting the kid correct his mistake and then pouring that love back in. I love that lesson and I'm gonna apply that into my life. Number 6, another lesson that I learned from my rich dad is remain open-minded to different belief systems. What's interesting of when I was listening to him is he was mentioning how, religions can somehow put you in a box, confine you to following certain boundaries, certain systems that will essentially plateau your own growth. He advised me that I should always be open-minded to learning about different belief systems, learning about truth, learning about what do I really resonate with, because confining yourself to one religion could essentially also be confining yourself to strict boundaries that may limit your thinking and may limit your abilities to achieving the kind of success that you want. Because of this, I'm not gonna just jump into another religion and say I'm not Catholic anymore, but I wanna explore different kinds of religions. I wanna explore different kinds of truths, and I wanna take it for what it is. And I found that very interesting because maybe that may be the reason as to why we're held back. And it's always good to be open-minded. Number 7, another lesson that I took was having order of operations in your life. From how I saw my rich dad operating his boat, having one son holding the rope, holding in the anchor, and then his other son riding through the back, making sure everything is clear, that we're good to go. He had all of his sons playing a certain role. He had his order of operations from what he would do A through Z every time he would operate his boat. I really loved what I saw because it showed me the example that how you do anything is how you do everything. And if you're all over the place with how you're doing things, that's also what's gonna look like in your life. So having a set of order of operations A through Z is important to optimize and to perform at a high level with what you're doing, with how you're running your family, how you're running your business, on all aspects of life. I really was just impressed with how he was able to get his boat moving with all of his sons directing with the rope, pulling in the anchor, his other son, pulling down the anchor from the boat, and very, very impressive. And his sons, by the way, one's 8, one's 10, and one's about to turn 12. So you can only imagine bright kids with bright futures ahead of them. Number 8 is having that singularity of focus. And when I heard this, I've heard it many times before, but it's so true. When you are focused on one important thing, you want to succeed, you want to win, you don't get pulled in different directions. And when I think about the world today, we are distracted by advertisements, by social media, by comparing ourselves to others. And we are not realizing sometimes that when we pick up our phone and we look at the social media, it triggers our brain to think a certain way. And when we don't reflect and we're not self-aware, then what tends to happen is that we start to lose our singularity of focus. focus. And so listening to this reminded me of how important it is to have one focus point, one focused goal, and staying so focused on that one thing that you're gonna acquire and you're gonna achieve it one day, and you're gonna win and have that success. So singularity of focus was such an important lesson that I learned from my rich dad. And number 9 was that everyone that works with me is a priority of my life's work. And he mentioned this to me on the first night: your business should be your priority, because that represents who you are. And if you are showing up as your best every single day, as your authentic self, and you're pouring in value into your business, into the people that are in your business, that's how you will shape the foundation of your own business growth. And that reminded me, I do need to show up as my authentic self every single day. You do need to show up for the people that are in your business, and you need to prioritize the service that you're providing. And when I heard that from my rich dad, I was like, man, sometimes I'll be focused on social media and I'm not focused on pouring in that value into my business, into people who are working with me. Sometimes I get it mixed up. Why am I pouring so much value into one area when I should be always focused on making sure that my clients are receiving the best service? That reminded me, I need to go back to singularity of focus. I need to focus on adding value to my clients, pouring into them, making sure that they're getting the results that they want. And the last lesson that I learned, or that I gained from my rich dad, was God will continue to consistently put the right people in your path if you keep serving him. And it was amazing because we were on the way to an island. The rich dad was on his boat, on the steering wheel. I was sitting to the left of him, and I was just expressing my gratitude, showing my appreciation, saying, Frank, I really appreciate all of this. You invited me on the boat with your family, and I'm having a great time spending time with you guys. I told him, I didn't know what I did to deserve this, to be quite honest. And he looked at me and he said, one thing I've noticed about you, Jandy, is that God consistently puts the right people in your path. Right after he said that, there was a subtle pause, and I was just taking that in, thinking back to all the people that were there at the right time that helped me get from point A to point B, from point B to point C. I wouldn't have been able to make these strides in life if it wasn't for meeting the right people at the right certain time, hearing the right wisdom at the right certain time. I was just grateful. And then that's when I told Frank, I was like, you're the rich dad that I never had. And then he giggled, and then he was like, I'm grateful and appreciative to be a part of your journey, and I can't wait to see you grow. And I decided I need to create 10 lessons that I found was profound in my life, and that I found that was also a lot of wisdom that I can share with you guys. I'm super grateful to have a rich dad, to continue building this relationship, because life doesn't stop when you hit a certain amount of money in your bank account. Life doesn't stop when you think you have it all. Life is work. Everything that you do in life is work. Being a father for your kids, being the CEO for your business, showing up for the people in your life consistently, day in and day out, being the best person in all your relationships, and most importantly, being the servant for God and exemplifying the values that you have with God in the relationship and pouring that into this world. I want to thank all of you guys for tuning into another episode of the Jandy Show, coming from Kalma. And what's crazy about this is that the next podcast that I probably shoot on a boat is going to be on a 67 footer. I'll keep it at that for now. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Have a blessed day. I appreciate you. Make sure not to forget to like, subscribe, share this with a friend who you think who's going to gain a lot of value from this podcast episode. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.